It's Lisa from Kit and Wren Gardens, and this is my first Instagram video, my first video for the gram. And I'm not a professional gardener. I'm not even that great of an amateur gardener, but I am a gardener, and I follow a lot of gardeners on Instagram and really appreciate all the wisdom and wit and humor that they share. So I thought that I would try to contribute some myself, and we'll see how that goes. But I just wanted to give you my very first garden tour that I've made for someone other than my Facebook friends. And we're standing in the backyard, which over the past 2 years has become a much expanded version of a small pollinator native plant garden that I started. And I'll take you around and show you that, but I'm actually positioned in not the most attractive vantage point, but I did want you to take note of that grow bag back there. There are wrens nesting in there right now, and the babies are sort of a week to 2 weeks old, and the parents are in and out feeding quite frequently. They're Carolina wrens, ones with the bright white stripe over the eye, and they're a lot of fun to watch, and I really love hosting them. However, that's my shed door, and all of my gardening stuff, well, most of my gardening stuff is in that shed, and it's really put a damper on my gardening recently. I have to kind of sneak in and out of the shed without disturbing them too much, and wait for the parents to come and go. And often there's a lot of complaining from the parents about my hanging around the nest too much. But behind me also is a potting shed that I built.
Potting bench.
I built this potting shed
Bench.
with my own 2 hands and a drill and a circular saw based on plans from Anna White, and I will put her web link down below so you can check out her plans. She has many project plans that she posts for free on her website, and they're step by step, and they give you the cut list and all the materials that you need to make that project. And this is the first thing I've ever built by hand. I'm very proud of it. I hung some twinkle lights on it, so sometime I'll show you those at night. I should introduce you to Timmy, who will be in many of my videos. Say hi, Timmy. Hi, Timmy, over here. Okay, well, he doesn't take direction very well, but he will be in many videos to come. And I'll just give you a quick tour of what's going on back here. As you can see, I've got a green stalk. It's the first time that I have ever planted in a green stalk this year, and I've had some pretty good success with a few varieties of beans, and I'll just walk up closely and show you those. These are French long skinny green beans, haricots verts. My French is very rusty. I had some snap peas in the second row, but I think it's just got too hot for them. So now, if I haven't pulled them out, I'm mainly just letting them grow to nibble on the pea shoots or chuck the kind of dried out ones in the garden bed for a little extra compost. I have, boy, I wish I'd remember the name of these very pretty purple beans in this kind of middle tier. I haven't been very good about rotating things this year, so or at all since the initial growth. The bush beans, the provider bush beans down here, are the ones that are clearly doing the best. And again, it's just sort of this one row all the way around is kind of still producing, but the row on the bottom has pretty much petered out. And I will find the name of these lovely purple beans, but actually, except for this little slightly deformed one, they're not too purple right now. And they did get a feeding about a week ago. One of my biggest challenges as a rather new, semi-serious gardener is figuring out a whole feeding schedule. I used to be really a disaster with plants, and I would start them and then sort of leave them to fend for themselves. And now I am coming to appreciate the need to fertilize or to give some food or some compost, some top dressing. And I have been watching a number of gardeners on YouTube. To give Gary of the Rusted Root Garden in particular has been very helpful in sort of the how and when and what of feeding and fertilizing. Rainbow Gardens also, and I'm sorry I don't remember the gardener's name, but she does a lot with the green stalks. And Roots and Refuge Farm, just want to give a shout out to them because I've loved Jesse's videos, and they're now getting settled into their property in South Carolina. So the original Roots and Refuge in Arkansas is going to be taken on by new gardener farmers, homesteaders. But Jesse's videos have always been just chock full of information, and I can't say enough good about all I've learned from watching her videos. Anywho, one thing I haven't learned yet is sort of how to maximize production on my tomatoes. So this is not my first year growing tomatoes. I've had moderate success with them here in this little raised bed on the south-ish side of the house. Oh, you can't see Mama or Papa Wren there popping in and out of the nest. You can hear them though. But I tried this year for the first time to start a variety of heirlooms from seeds, and I used a special seed medium in the bootstrap trays, and bootstrap trays are great. I didn't use a grow light. I started kind of late, and it was a phenomenal failure. I didn't have a single seed or tomato sprout from those seeds. So I did buy a number of tomatoes and peppers and an eggplant and a fig tree from my local cooperative extension service here in North Carolina, and those plants have been going gangbusters, as well as one little volunteer of the unfortunately named Mexico midget, very tiny tomatoes that I grew in a pot last year. One has popped back up and has already been putting out those very tiny little blueberry-sized tomatoes. This is a carbon tomato, and at present there are no tomatoes on it. I did get I lied. Here's some right here. I did get some very lovely sort of palm-sized carbon tomatoes off this plant a couple of weeks ago. They were just absolutely delicious. So I'm glad to see that it is becoming a little more productive. They were beautiful tomatoes, just absolutely fantastic. And here I have some Tiger Tom, and this plant I think is going to do really well. It's obviously fruiting quite a bit, some more blossoms coming, and I'm looking forward to seeing. This is the green, I think the green, no, not the green Tiger Tom. This one next to it is a green variety, a potato leaf, and it's just starting to get some blossoms on it. It is dwarf summertime green. And there's another one over here that's kind of potato leaf. I bought 3 of these dwarf varieties. I think I must have ended up with an extra one because I don't remember which one this is, but I have the sweet scarlet ones over here that again are just sort of beginning to put out some blossoms. And here, this one is actually getting some tomatoes on it. And this is the very tiny repeat volunteer from last year. Okay, my camera work is clearly going to need a little bit, but those were super productive last year, so I had a ton of those for salads. Looking forward to eating more. So as you can see, I have my raised garden bed on this one sunny corner of our yard, because where I live, the HOA passed a rule a couple of years ago that there could not be vegetable gardens in the front yard, which I think is just, well, you know what I would think about that. I'm sure you think the same thing. And I've since learned by watching videos on foodscapes that there are ways of sneaking vegetables into your ornamental landscapes, so that will be happening. But this area is really the best sun exposure that's not in a side or front yard. And I have not had a lot going on here except for this sort of unruly vitex, which I actually tried to have taken out, and it won't die. I have nothing against vitex. I just wish it was in a different place, because it gets big fast and it sort of crowds out and blocks the sun from all the other things that are happening in here. So I will trim that back again and maybe make it into more of a tree form. I've seen some really magnificent looking ones that are tree form, that it would be great in the front yard, for instance. We'll work on that. Of course, echinacea. I got some eastern red columbine here that's pretty well, spent, except I left the seed heads for the birds and also to self-sow next year, which I don't anticipate will be a problem. Some great blue lobelia right now is starting to bloom. I've got some beard's tongue back there that's bloomed out, and a lot of our native bee balm. And this is, I'm in zone 7B in central North Carolina, and you can just make out a few of those native bee balm flower heads hanging in there. And so all of those things were planted last year, and some things didn't come back, like Liliatris. I don't know what happened to that. I've got some swamp milkweed that has come back behind the vitex. And then over here I've got some things which I can never remember the name of. I'll look it up and put it below. I keep wanting to call Joe Pieweed, and that's not Joe Pieweed, but also the Joe Pieweed hasn't come back. I've had cardinal flower blooming. I've got another one of those over here just behind this butterfly weed, which is finally taking off. There was another butterfly weed directly to the right of that, one of 3 or 4 healthy plants I put in this year that just seemed to have just died back completely. So we'll see if anything happens with that next year. This one, you can see there's a much taller one right here that is going to be a cream color. I think it actually is a cultivar, but I did get it from a local nursery. It seems to be doing well. And I would love to find the common milkweed somewhere, and haven't had luck with that. The name of this channel is Kit and Wren, and I think I've already explained the Wrens. The Kit is a reference to baby rabbit. We've had a bumper crop of baby bunnies this year, and if they were not born in this mostly native perennial bed, they sure like to hang out in here. And often at night will make their way out of this fenced area into the main part of the yard, where Timmy finds them when he comes out for his nightly pee breaks, and then he chases them around the yard. and mad antics ensue, and the bunnies always make it back into the safety of the perennial bed because they're much faster and a little craftier than he is, thankfully. But I will say they just ate some of my things down to nubs, including my gomphrena, which I was very much looking forward to. Gomphrena, or globe amaranth, right here, with my little, oh, those are toads, my toad garden ornament that I was gifted. And over here, it looks like they might have chewed down some phlox. And I'm sorry for my shoddy camera work. I will do better in future videos. Again, there is the milkweed, I'm sorry, the butterfly weed, the cardinal flower, there's a native geranium, I believe, very tall, this fringy sort of dill-like feathery fronds. I don't know if you could call them fronds. Again, I've got a sheet and look at the tags, which some of them I've lost. I actually don't remember what this is. Some of you all will know because you know much better. Some of the little allium, the nodding onions, and this snake root, which sort of like pooped out, but the bees are still loving it. Very pretty. So this needs a good clean out, obviously, but we'll work on that. Give you updates in the future. I will say I had another stand of scarlet bee balm right here that had a very bad powdery mildew early in the spring. I did spray it with a it's like a citric acid fungicide or citrus-based fungicide, and it got much better, and it actually had really beautiful blooms on it. So I didn't take it out. Maybe I should have. But there you have it. More butterfly weed in there, I think. Needed some support, obviously. So this is my first ever fig tree, and I've never, as I said, first ever, never grown a fig tree. Didn't even really realize that I could have a fig tree until relatively recently, but I do love the figs. And I want to give a shout out to Ross Ratty, the fig boss, and the millennial gardener. I'm sorry I'm blanking on your first name. I just started watching your videos, and they are all about figs, and other wonderful fruits and vegetables too, but they've both inspired me to grow figs, at least in a container, and maybe this one will eventually make it into the landscape here, and plant it in ground. But for right now, this little fig is just growing, and each time I see one of these little nubs, I think, oh great, a fig. But I guess it's really the little button-like growths just to the side of those nubs, and I may get bold and pinch back this sort of middle branch right here to see if I can stimulate some figs before the year is out. But you know, maybe this is just a year where it's going to get big and strong,
and we'll have lots of figs next year. We'll see.
So for my first Instagram video, I stepped in some dog poop, my own dog's. It's sort of dispiriting. But a former neighbor, somebody I hadn't seen in years, happened to be walking by on the walking path behind us and stopped to say hello, and I got caught up in conversation, and apparently as I was working my way back toward the garden, I didn't watch my step. And there you go. The UPS guy just pulled up, and I think he's dropping off a new pair of sandals that I'd ordered that couldn't get here a minute too soon. So thank you. Thank you for joining me on my little garden tour today. It's still very small and very much in progress, and I look forward to meeting you in the garden again in the near future. Feel free to leave comments below. Not you, Timmy. And like, subscribe, all the things. Am I on YouTube? And that's on YouTube. But on Instagram, you can do those things too, right? And, well, I'll make more videos. And, we'll chat. Thanks, y'all. Have a good one.